question in every aspirant's mind, those who seek something higher, no matter what stage of development they're in, the question they have is, when will I be free? And there's actually an answer to that question. But to get to it requires awakening to the almost entirely invisible way in which you are enslaved. I hesitated to start these thoughts because the topic is so deep, I will never accomplish it in 12 minutes. But then again, I haven't accomplished what I've set out to accomplish in innumerable years, so why should 12 minutes be a problem? You have been taught to be afraid of pain. And no one who is afraid of pain will ever be free. The subtle thing about the teacher called pain is that it all happens within a system that's unconscious to itself. A dog that's abused. I met one yesterday at the place I was at. Couldn't come near it without it shrinking and snarling, because it had been taught by unconscionable human beings that human beings were to be feared. But you can't really use the word "it was taught," because that would imply that there was something there producing in the creature an effect for a purpose known only to the teaching, to that level of life that was doing that conditioning. And what I'm getting at is that you have been, without knowing it, caught in a body, in a mind that has been taught, that teaches itself for all intents and purposes to fear pain. And the reason that you can never know freedom until you're no longer afraid of pain is that sitting here right now, wherever you are, even if this is being heard 100 years from now, it's the same truth. Living right this moment inside of you is some part of yourself that is waiting to grab you and drag you down and beat you up. It is there right now, waiting to get hold of you in some way, twist you around, get you tormented, fearful in some way, so that at some point you explode or do something detrimental to yourself or desperate in this life. It is there right now inside of you as I'm talking to you, and you don't want to know it. What you want to know is freedom from it. You'll never know freedom from it until you know it completely, and until you know that it is never not there inside of you. But you'll never know that it's always there inside of you, that this nature is there, as long as you are afraid of it. And it is what tells you you can put off your work. You can put off changing the kind of person you are. You can have this day. This is your week. This is your time. Don't worry. Everything's kind of okay right now, so it'll work out. And I'm telling you, you are listening to darkness itself tell you about a light it knows nothing of, and that it will eventually show you that what you said was this soft, easy, good time was nothing like it. I'm not saying to be draconian. You didn't hear those words come out of my mouth. I'm saying to you that you have something in you that always wants to forget what it felt like to be in the kind of pain you were in yesterday or 10 minutes ago. That's all it wants to do. It just wants to bury it. It wants you to forget the fear that grabbed you by the throat. It wants you to forget that anger and that impatience. It wants you to forget that nightmarish greed or whatever the compulsion may be. It wants you to forget the habits. It wants you to forget everything that you can so that just when you go to sleep, bang, it can do it to you again. And the only way in which you shatter that pattern is by being present to the urgency that you felt when you wanted to be free while you feel free. That's the only way. You know the urgency I'm talking about? God, I've got to change my life. I wish I was different. I have to do something more. I've got to work harder. Do you know that or not? And what happens to it? I've got stuff I've got to go get and put in the barn and do all those things that one scripture talks about. And that very night was his soul called for. What is killing you wants you to forget that it's killing you. That's the only way it can stay alive. And there is nothing that it won't do. There is nothing, listen to me, there's nothing it won't bring to you to help you forget that fact. In the New Testament, when Christ was taken out, the devil, Satan, call it what you will, that nature that governs this world and that governs this lower self, it said to him, I will give you everything. In fact, here, have this, have that. And how tempting it is to forget my violence. I don't want to be aware of my violence. I don't want to be aware of any sickness inside of me, physical, mental, emotional. I don't want to know about it. I want to get on with my life so that it no longer bothers me. Neither am I saying that you should dwell upon yourself. But I am saying that you must learn what it means to dwell within yourself incessantly. And when you dwell within yourself incessantly, you dwell in a world where these forces, that nature, waits, where it sits. God, how many times, people, are you going to go through another absolute earthquake, another life-shattering revelation, another loss of some kind, and get there and feel like, oh my God, here it is again? Why wait until something in you says, oh God, here it is again? What do I do? Why don't you be there before it happens to you? So that you know so much about that nature that when it appears, it doesn't capture you offhand. It doesn't take you away because you've already come into a relationship with it, that you understand it, and you realize this thing, this nature, which, by the way, is necessary, must be attended to. What isn't necessary is me losing my life to it. Pain. Oh God, please, no more pain. Isn't that it? Please God, no more pain. Isn't that it? Please God, no more fear. Please God, no more anger. Please God, no more fear of loss. Please God, I don't want to suffer anymore. I don't want to carry this load anymore. This is what goes on inside of the mind that is asleep to itself. Why is it asleep to itself? because the very relationship with that part of oneself that wants to distance oneself from the nature responsible for that pain is itself succeeding in doing so every time it gets you to think, I've got it made. This is great. Isn't this great? Look at what we've got. Look what we're doing. Look where we're going. My health is restored. Everything seems to be fantastic. Is it? There is a sustained awareness of this whole body of yourself. And in that sustained awareness, incidentally, there is a constant harmonizing of the very things that want to harm you instead of the occasional stirring of it that then drags you into harm's way because you had no idea it was about to appear there. I don't know if you understand this. How will you ever get to a point where you are willing to intentionally suffer what you must to go through this transfiguration? If at the smallest moment, the smallest suffering gets you to run for cover or to pretend in some way that it's not there because for a few moments you are relieved of it. You can't be free and have fear. But you can use fear. And it is the relationship of a consciousness awakened to itself that is able to use fear and use the suffering that is inherent in this life that is free. It's not you that's free. It's that consciousness that is free. It's that level of existence that is inclusive instead of exclusive. Think how many times already in your life you have thought to yourself, oh God, I don't want to go through this again. Please, no more pain. Think how many times, and then see how disconnected you are from that part of yourself that just seems to come out of nowhere. It doesn't come out of nowhere. It has always been sitting there waiting for the conditions necessary to bring it up into your consciousness so that through their conditioning you can one more time say, oh God, no, this is too painful. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to know about it. You must know about it and know about it and know so much. You must know so much about your pain, you are no longer afraid of it.